Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 has already spoiled what happens to Pike's girlfriend. But I don't care. From the moment Captain Christopher Pike appeared on Star Trek Discovery and later took command of the USS Enterprise in Strange New Worlds, fans have known one thing about him with absolute certainty. His future is already written. Thanks to the original series and his appearance in the Menagerie, we know exactly how Pike's story ends. But the series has managed to make every moment leading up to that inevitable fate feel fresh, vibrant, and heartbreaking. That's why the reveal in Strange New Worlds Season 3, a subtle but unmistakable spoiler about the fate of Pike's girlfriend, hits hard yet somehow doesn't ruin the journey at all. The burden of foreknowledge. Pike's tragic future has always loomed over his every decision. We've seen him struggle with the knowledge of his own crippling injury, the sense of borrowed time shaping his command style. But Season 3 ups the ante by reminding us that this burden doesn't just belong to him. It ripples outward, touching the lives of everyone around him, especially those he loves. Enter Captain Battle, Pike's romantic partner introduced as a foil to his introspective nature. She's a decorated officer in her own right, pragmatic where Pike is idealistic, sharp where he is measured. Their dynamic has been one of the show's quiet strengths. Watching them negotiate not only the perils of Starfleet duty, but also the vulnerability of an adult relationship has added a new dimension to Pike's character. But now, thanks to promotional materials and an episode synopsis leak, we already know what happens to Battle before the season even airs in full. And the spoiler is devastating. How the spoiler landed. Paramount Plus didn't set out to ruin the surprise. In fact, the spoiler is buried in synopses and production notes rather than trumpeted in a trailer. But eagle-eyed fans noticed that a mid-season episode description references Pike honoring the memory of Battle during a critical diplomatic mission. That's not the kind of phrasing you use for a living character. Combined with interviews in which Anson Mount has spoken about Pike being shaped by loss this season, it's almost impossible not to conclude that Battle dies, or at least leaves Pike's life in a way that permanently scars him. In other franchises, such a leak might have drained the tension. Here, it only deepens it. Because Strange New Worlds has built its reputation on character-driven storytelling. The how and why of Batel's fate are far more compelling than the what. Why this doesn't ruin the show. The power of Strange New Worlds lies in its willingness to embrace classic Star Trek optimism while acknowledging the cost of Starfleet's utopian ideals. Relationships on this show aren't plot accessories. They're crucibles for the characters' values. Even knowing Batel's likely fate, viewers are invested in seeing how Pike and Battle navigate their final missions together. It's also consistent with Star Trek tradition. Kirk's romances in the original series almost always ended in tragedy, not because the show was cynical about love, but because it used those relationships to explore the moral stakes of command. Pike and Batel's story is shaping up to be the 23rd century's answer to that trope, a grown-up, serialized meditation on love under pressure. Pike as a mirror for the audience. Part of why this spoiler doesn't sting is that we're sharing Pike's perspective. Just as he knows his own end, we now know Batel's. We're forced into the same emotional position as Pike, treasuring the fleeting moments rather than the inevitable destination. This makes scenes between the two of them even more bittersweet. Every shared glance, every quiet conversation in Pike's quarters becomes infused with unspoken doom, yet also with a defiant tenderness. In a way, Paramount has pulled off a meta trick. By accidentally spoiling Batel's fate, they've ensured we feel the same sense of tragic anticipation as Pike himself. It's not a twist anymore, it's a slow burn, building a legacy of emotion. If Strange New Worlds succeeds with this storyline, it will cement its reputation as Star Trek's most emotionally intelligent series since Deep Space Nine. Pike's romance has never been about happily ever after. It's been about the kind of meaningful connection that makes sacrifice and duty even harder. Anson Mount has hinted that the back half of Season 3 contains one of the most challenging episodes of my career. It's not hard to imagine that this refers to the aftermath of Batel's fate. Watching Pike shoulder yet another burden while continuing to embody Starfleet's ideals could be the moment that defines his version of the character. Why I don't care about the spoiler. Ultimately, knowing Batel's end doesn't rob me of excitement for Season 3. If anything, it makes me more eager to see how the writers handle it. Strange New Worlds has earned my trust by making even its most telegraphed beats resonate. Just as we watch Pike's foreknowledge enrich rather than diminish his story, Batel's fate promises to do the same. Love and loss are as much a part of Star Trek as warp drives and phasers. By leaning into that truth, Strange New Worlds isn't just telling us what happens to Pike's girlfriend. It's showing us why it matters. And that's a spoiler word.